Hey guys, and welcome to a heroic showdown between myself, a rubber duck of war, leading the glorious DAWI forces, up against Azir 606 and the legions of the Warriors of Chaos. Azir was a really cool dude. We were chatting before the game and after, and yeah, certainly a fun opponent. So if you do meet him on the ladder, make sure to say hello and give him a friendly little wave. Anyway, onto our build, and we are going very classical DAWI play here with a bucket ton of cheap infantry and then an insane number of guns. It is the glorious way to play Dwarfs, always probably been the best way to play them as well, at least in the majority of matchups. We'll have to see how it does fare because we've got a lot of problems coming up against us in the form particularly of chariots and an insane number of Warriors of Chaos. So in the front line we do have miners with blasting charges. My deployment is a little bit of a kind of tight clusterfuck at the moment, or flustercluck I should say, because we didn't have that much room to deploy everywhere. So we have miners mixed in with dwarf warriors with great weapons just dotted all the way along, and 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4 of thunderers, and they're going to be our key here to annihilating the enemy. Dwarf warriors are great weapons, miners are blasting charges. Yeah, they can kill marauders and other such units, but they will certainly struggle with the more elite of the Chaos forces. In the back to help protect all these thunderers, we do have the Grumbling Guard, Regiment of Renown Longbeards, and they have such a cool colour scheme with the little green and gold combo. Yeah, very badass. They're old grumblers, they're armour piercing, and they don't like running away. I guess those old bones don't exactly suit it. In the centre here, we have the Dragonback Slayers escorting a Rune Lord. We are going for the basic Rune Lord, coming in 3 different runes. We do have the Rune of Slowness, as well as the Rune of Speed, which I've talked about plenty on the channel already. But we're also coming in with the Rune of Breaking. That extra armour sundering, base weapon damage, armour piercing weapon damage, I think could be quite nice on some of those great weapon dwarf warriors to enable them to deal with elite enemy infantry. We also have the Peak Gate Guard hidden in the trees at the moment, pushing forward though, looking to get to grips with the enemy. These guys have armour piercing, armor sundering, they've gained extra splash attacks, all hammerers have, so I'm really excited to see how they do indeed perform here today. But yeah, we are taking the low ground here because I fought on the high ground, there was trees here, there was rocks. Yeah, the enemy may be able to come down the hill to us, but the thunderers then will definitely be able to see all their targets, having that clear view of the battlefield. We have triple Marauder Horsemen with thrown access on this left-hand side by my opponent, not a bad pick whatsoever, can deal with Slayers, and the armor piercing is also quite nice. We have Chaos Warriors mixed in with Chaos Marauders dotted all the way along here. Chaos Marauders, not the biggest fan of these guys. I mean, they can whip around the flanks and harass and shut down Slayers, but the great weapons are certainly better in my opinion. However, we do have great weapons. We've got the Mirror Guard and then great weapon Chaos Warriors in the back. And on the far side, more Warriors of Chaos with great weapons. We have double Gorbeast Chariots, which are going to be very scary for us to deal with. Chariots have been a nuisance for dwarfs for eons past. There is so many. There's a whole section, probably multiple chapters in the Great Book of Grudges about chariots, particularly those Gorbeast ones. We have some Exalted Heroes as well, looks like 2 on foot, looking to take it to our characters at least, and a Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Shadows, Pendulum, Pit of Shades, and Enfeebling Foe, and he's looking pretty gangster riding to battle on his mighty Hellsteed here, and these are trotting forward towards my line. So we've taken the low ground, disobeyed the teachings of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we've gone all Anakin on him. We've fallen to the dark side. If you're going to be Chaos, you have to fall to the dark side a little bit. We're going to be pushing up, fanning out slightly as well, trying to reorganize my position. This is a much better line. So now we have the blasting charges to do some initial burst damage. Then we have the great weapons to back them up, and more as well dotted throughout the formation to help protect the thunderers. There is a lack of Slayers, only the 1 unit here, but I'm hoping that the Grumbling Guard as well as the Hammerers should be able to pin in the enemy if the thunderers can kill those chariots quick enough. Blasting Chargers are lined up to take down the Chaos Marauders. I mean, this is the Marauders' job, unfortunately for them. They're going to be here to eat Blasting Chargers all day, but it's still a good target for us. Clears out some of the chaff that my opponent can bring to the table, and we are trying to meet them man to man, or dwarf to evil Chaos being. Thunderers are lining up some glorious shots straight down the gullet onto the Mirror Guard, who have been intercepted here by the Dwarf Warriors, although they are being given attack orders to try to push through. A big fat pendulum is going to come down on the Thunderers. We just about managed to dodge the worst of the pressure there, and you can see those Gorbeast Chariots are starting to make the long drag around my formation to try to hit us in the rear, but we can move our Slayers over to attempt an interception maneuver. Dwarf Warriors are really mucking up the Thunderers' line of fire right now, but we're doing some huge damage. Look at those Mirror Guard go down, but in come the Chariots, and this is where it gets a little bit scary. We're going to pop a Rune of Slowness down on the Gorbeast Chariots, and in come the Peak Gate Guard, in come the Dragonback Slayers, and if these guys make contact, we can slow them again. And it looks like we have indeed. Their speed is down to 14. They are going nowhere. Thunderers can now turn and unleash the rage of the DAWI upon them. Gorby's chariots getting slaughtered in their unfortunate state at the moment. These Gorbies must be so confused. Why am I moving so slow? And then bam, one is shattered. There's still another chat running around though. It did a good job breaking up the right-hand side of my formation, and now there's loads of gaps for my enemy to pour into. So we're really going to focus down the next Gorby's chariot. It is going down rather quickly, but in come the Mirror Guard, in swarm Marauders and Chaos Warriors, and a lovely Pendulum as well. I just about get out of the way of the worst of it once more. Grumbling Guard Army trying to push in to fill the gap. Likewise is these Dwarf Warriors are great weapons. Thunderers getting a little bit eager, a little bit too tipsy on the Buckmans. Actually move into hand-to-hand combat. I will be pulling them back in just a second. Peak Gate Guard moving up to help deal with this blob, which is overwhelming at the Dwarf Warriors. Little Miss Micro Exiled Hero does... he's chasing off Dwarf Warriors. Not a bad idea. But he decides, you know, it's not worth it. I need to come back and help shut out down this back line, because the Dwarf Warriors and Miners are really faring poorly now in the front line, with the chariots dragging themselves along and the Exalted Hero. Lovely little Pit Shades goes down on the Dragonback Slayers, doing some nice work there. The Mirror Guard are getting stuck into the Dwarf Warriors. But look how many of my Thunderers are still online. We have 3 units currently firing, and a 4th is repositioning. But the left-hand flank has crumbled, and the right one barely hanging on. We're once again going to be moving in the Grumbling Guard to try to fill the gaps. They're not too happy with the younger dwarfs running away. Going to get in there and show them how it's done. Glowing with Holy Fire there. Looks like we're going to be buffing them up as well with the Rune of Breaking. And they should do some really good damage to this Exalted Hero, at least I hope, as well as the Chaos Warriors. Thunderers are now trying to pick apart key targets, focusing down the Exalted Heroes. The one on this flank is getting absolutely hammered. Pun 100% intended, as the Peak Gate Guard really dish out the damage to him despite all his buffs coming down, and he may even die here. Oh my god, a volley in the back takes him down. Peak Gate Guard stand victorious. Balance power going very heavy in our favour now, and we can switch our attention to the second Exalted Hero, who's really getting stuck in to the Grumbling Guard. Up to 20 kills, these bad boys. We have some Dwarf Warriors and Miners return to the field, realising that the favour is in our favour now, right? The favour of Freya. I can't remember who the Dwarves worship. It's not Freya, but it sounds like Freya because it's based off Freya. Valea, there we go. The favours of Valea is on our side. And the Horsemen do throw in with the Dark Gods, though, trying to shut down the Thunderers. With a last desperate charge in, but there's Peak Gate Guard here, there's Dragonback Slayers, and my opponent's build does break. The Chaos Sorcerer Lord does survive, though. We'll be running around and running away back home to raise a second army, but the Dwarfs, at least for now, managed to hold firm. It was a Pyrrhic victory, it was some old school DAWI tactics, and I hope you guys enjoyed. It's a really fun way of playing Dwarfs, just going super wide. I mean, look how many troops we have. So many. 17 units, only 4 ranged there. This is quite key. I see a load of people, when they go this wide, they'll have like 7 or 8 range units, and you simply can't protect it. But if you have 4 Thunderers, that's enough to help crossfire and protect each other, and at the same time, it's not too insane, at least, to attempt to guard. Well played to Aza, though. Did manage to push into the back line in the mid-game. It looked a little bit shady for me. He was really pushing and driving through, but luckily, my reinforcements came just at the right times. Rallying troops as well kept throwing their bodies in front of those Thunderers, allowing the Thunderers to really dish out the damage and carry the day. We will be looking at the damage dealt and damage value of all these units, including those Thunderers and Peak Gate Guard, which I'm very excited to see how much work they did in just a second. But if you guys enjoyed, please do leave a thumbs up underneath the video, as well as subscribing for more Total War Warhammer content coming at you every single day. We were going to do a live stream. Actually, no, this video is probably going to come out after that. Don't worry about it. We're doing live streams this week, most likely Thursday and Friday. Not sure when this video will drop, but from this point onwards, I'm really going to be trying to stream every Wednesday and every Thursday. This isn't possible this week, but Wednesdays and Thursdays should be streaming days, bearing, you know, me losing my arms or something at some point. There are also, feel free to comment down below what you thought on the battle. Who was your favourite moment? Who was your MVP? What do you think of the old school way the Dwarfs like to play? And once again, shouts out to Aza. There are links down below in the description if you would like to join my Patreon. There's a link down there. It really helps support the channel, as well as my Discord, where you can submit replays, get involved in the tournament scene, chill out with a load of cool guys, and see a load of pictures of ducks. But anyway, on to the glorious stuff and the real reason we're here. The Rune Lord, 12 kills, 666 damage dealt. He made a deal with the devil, and it did pay off. Only 64 damage value, but he was really here just to buff up the troops. Minotaur Blast and Charges just help clear out the Marauders, as well as being a cheap blocker unit. Likewise, Dwarfs with great weapons didn't perform amazing. I mean, one got 773 damage value, but they're just bodies. That's all we want them for, to pin in the enemy and buy time. Grumbling Guard performed pretty good, 617 damage value and still nearly full health at the end of the day. I really think they're quite a underrated unit. And in this matchup, I can certainly see them being very powerful. Likewise, the Drownback Slayers didn't have to get stuck in too much. Our elite back line just was used to plug gaps really rather than chase enemies down. But that extra slow onto the Chariots early game was quite clutch. 1,463 damage value from the Hammers. I'm really enjoying Hammers now. It's only a small buff to them. I believe they've had some of their stats increased slightly. Extra melee defense. And splash attacks go from 1 to 2. So they do extra splash, better at clearing out kind of a lightly armoured chaff units, which is perfect because they're already good at clearing out some of the heavily armoured infantry. So Peak Gate Guard, definitely a fan of these bad boys. Thunderers across the board, 1.2, 1.6, 300 and 909 damage value. So one unit not performing quite as well, suffering a lot of pressure from my opponent, having to fall back, but they were still alive in the end game. And all the Thunderers performed so well. My god, that's some really disgusting damage value. As for Aza, 606, the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Shadows, got 800 damage value, not terrible, some really nice pendulums, but the Pit of Shades was a particularly nice cherry on the top of the Chaos Cake today. Exalted Heroes really struggled. I understand the allure of going kind of foot Exalted Heroes to try to challenge Rune Lords, Rune Smiths, Fanes, and other DAWI characters, but they couldn't get into the back line onto those key targets, and the Thunderers just lit them up. The map really helped me with that slope. And yeah, taking the low ground is was the way there. Chaos Warriors are weapons, and the Mirror Guard, yeah, not the best damage value, not terrible, but a lot of it was on miners and dwarfs with great weapons, and they just couldn't pierce the onion. Too many layers for them to swallow today. Horsemen, unfortunately, weren't super effective, and the Gorby's Chariot just got annihilated from the glorious Thunderer pressure. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, peace, and as always, stay awesome.